The sun poured into the 42nd floor of Helixon Tower, spreading warm daylight across the polished marble, as if trying to soften the cold edges of corporate power. But nothing felt warm to Orrin Hale that morning, not the sunlight, not the gentle hum of the city beneath him, not even the steaming cup of cheap coffee he clutched as though it could stabilize his shaking hands. The day had already cornered him, breathing down his neck, whispering that something was about to snap. And it did, just not in the way anyone expected. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and powerful stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Spark. Your support truly helps us bring more heartfelt stories to life. Orrin Hale was not meant for boardrooms. He belonged to mop buckets, supply closets, and late-night silence in an empty tower. At 36, he had mastered invisibility. People stepped past him, around him, sometimes directly through his dignity. But Orrin endured because he had no choice. His daughter, Mira, a bright 8-year-old with sky-colored eyes, depended on him. After her mother's passing 2 years earlier, Orrin had become everything: father, mother, provider, protector, and the soft voice that whispered bedtime stories even when exhaustion scraped his bones raw. Working 2 jobs meant he rarely slept, rarely ate properly, and never rested in the way a human being should. He rinsed his hands in cold water to stay awake. He splashed his face before long shifts. He wore old sneakers whose soles had been glued back 3 times. But every morning he opened his eyes and whispered, "For Mira," before stepping onto the bus that rattled across town. That particular day, Mira had woken with a fever. Orrin had left her with a neighbor and rushed through his morning shift, distracted, worrying, trying to work faster so he could get home sooner. In his distracted haze, he didn't realize that Helixon's CEO, Draven Corvell, had scheduled a board meeting earlier than usual, gathering partners and investors in the executive conference room, a place Orrin was instructed never to enter while occupied. Yet fate had other plans. The polished wooden table in the boardroom gleamed under the daylight, spilling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Leather chairs stood like silent judges around it. In the center sat Draven Corvell's sleek obsidian laptop, a powerful machine rumored to hold sensitive corporate files. Orrin never touched executive equipment, but today he entered the boardroom with his cleaning cart, thinking it was empty, and froze only when he heard his name spoken harshly. "What is he doing in here?" a voice snapped. Orrin looked up. Draven Corvell towered over the table, sharp suit, sharper jawline, and eyes that held no warmth whatsoever. The board members turned to look at Orrin as though he were a stain on the floor rather than a human being. I'm sorry, sir, I thought," Orrin stammered. "You thought," Draven cut in. "Do you get paid to think or to clean?" A few men chuckled. Orrin's face heated, his throat tightened, his fingers trembled around the mop handle. His entire body felt like a fragile frame on the verge of collapse. He apologized quietly and backed away, trying to exit quickly so he wouldn't be reprimanded again. And then it happened. His cartwheel caught against a cable running across the floor, one that no one should have left exposed. Time fractured. Orrin watched in slow horror as the mop bucket tipped. Water surged forward, cascading directly across the table where Draven's laptop sat. The boardroom gasped. Someone shouted. Draven lunged forward, but it was too late. The laptop sparked, hissed, then cracked sharply as the screen went white and died. For a moment the world went silent. Then an explosion of panic erupted. Voices collided, accusations, outrage, disbelief. Draven's face turned a shade of red Orrin had never seen. He slammed his fist on the table, making several people flinch. "My entire presentation for this merger was on that laptop," Draven roared. "Do you have any idea what you've just destroyed?" Orrin stepped back, palms open, guilt flooding every cell of his body. His knees nearly buckled, the room swayed. He whispered the only thing he could manage. I'm so sorry." Draven marched toward him, eyes blazing. "Sorry won't fix the millions you've cost this company." Orrin felt the sting of tears, but he fought them back. He wanted to plead, to explain, to tell them his daughter was sick, that he was exhausted, that he never meant for this to happen, but words clogged in his throat like stones, and then another voice cut through the rage. "Before we blame anyone," said Selwyn Arctis, the oldest board member, "we should at least see what was actually on the device." "It's fried," Draven spat. "We can't access anything." "Not necessarily," Selwyn said calmly. "Hand it over." Draven reluctantly passed the ruined laptop to Selwyn, who examined it carefully. Then he called in its specialists. Orrin stood frozen in the corner, shaking so hard he felt his teeth chatter. Minutes passed like hours, until one of the techs returned looking uneasy. "We managed to extract the last auto-saved files," he said slowly. "But, sir, you should see this." The atmosphere shifted. The hostility dimmed. Something heavier, darker, settled over the room. Selwyn opened the recovered file on a projection screen. What appeared made several people inhale sharply. It was not a merger presentation, not financial reports, not even confidential documents. It was a collection of emails, hundreds, dated over the past 3 months. All of them exposing Draven Corvell's illegal activities, stock manipulation, data breaches, siphoning funds into offshore accounts, falsifying quarterly results, and using company resources to silence employees who tried to report him. There were recordings too, screenshots, proof, every crime documented. Meticulously. The room went dead silent. Draven's face drained of color. What is this?" one board member whispered. Another muttered he was preparing an exit plan, planning to destroy evidence before the audit next week. The truth unraveled brutally. The laptop Orrin had accidentally destroyed wasn't just a workplace device, it was Draven's vault of secrets, and the fact that the files had been auto-saved meant Draven had intended to delete them soon, hiding his tracks and leaving the company crumbling behind him. Selwyn slowly turned to look at Draven. "You weren't preparing for the merger meeting, you were preparing your escape." Draven stuttered, his confidence dissolving like ash. "No, that's not, you don't understand." But there was no escape. Security was called. Draven was escorted out shouting that he'd been framed, but no one believed him anymore. The boardroom, once filled with arrogance and anger, now felt like a courtroom where Orrin stood as the unknowingly pivotal witness. He had exposed corruption, accidentally but undeniably. Orrin waited for someone to tell him he was fired, arrested, or dragged away. Instead, Selwyn approached him with a solemn expression. "You may have just saved this company," he said. "What you uncovered, accidentally or not, will protect thousands of employees from losing their jobs." Orrin blinked, stunned. I didn't do anything." "You did," Selwyn replied gently, "and we owe you more than anger." The board members murmured in agreement. The tension dissolved into something unexpectedly humane. Orrin felt his chest loosen, but the fear remained. Fear that he'd still lose his job, fear that Mira's medicine would be unaffordable, fear that this miracle would evaporate like smoke. Selwyn placed a steady hand on Orrin's shoulder. "Come with me." He guided Orrin out of the boardroom and into the sunlight-filled executive office wing. The windows glittered like gold, the city looked brighter. But Orrin felt lost. Selwyn gestured for him to sit. "I want to know something," he said. "Why were you trembling so hard?" It wasn't just fear of the CEO. Orrin swallowed hard. He hesitated, but he had nothing left to protect. "My daughter, she's sick today," he said softly. "I'm trying to work faster so I can get home to her. I'm doing my best, but it's been hard since her mother passed." Pain tightened Selwyn's expression. "How old is she?" 8. Selwyn exhaled deeply, eyes misting for a moment.